Said the topic of today's webinar is how to engage young people in your projects. So Katya already did a bit of introduction. So let me fill in the gaps if there were some. So as she said, my name is Damir Muzin. I'm from Zagreb, Croatia. I'm a project manager and a youth trainer. And currently I'm working as an associate of Youth Bank International, and I'm the president of newly founded Youth Bank Croatia. So why is my experience relevant to this topic? Again, as Katya mentioned, most of my experience regarding project work were in managing youth projects. So I have more than 5 years of experience in youth projects and youth programs. I was working on projects on local, national, and international level. And in those, I was involved in different roles as a trainer, coordinator, and a project manager. So this overall experience basically gave me a great perspective on the whole project lifecycle, because I was involved in all the stages from ideation to recruitment, fundraising, implementation, training, reporting, you name it. So I will do my best to kind of try to hand you out my experience and some nice tips and tricks that I think are very useful. They were for myself, and I hope you will also find it useful in your projects. So let's start with the topic and why is engagement important. So straightforwardly, you all know the basic thing is to get participants into your projects on board. The next part is that you want to create some kind of a desired impact with your project. So the next step is basically during the project implementation, you want your participants to bring the outcomes that you desired, that you've set, and that will be the impact of your project. And after that, the thing that is also very important is that you want to keep these participants in the loop. You want to create a pool of participants that can be your future participants in some other projects. And very important thing to understand is that engaged participants equals successful project. So it's very important to engage participants throughout your whole project lifecycle, because often most of the people, when we think about engaging participants, we either have in mind the recruitment phase or we either have in mind the implementation phase. So we usually connect, and the word engaging means to invite somebody in, to involve them. And that is very, very important. It defines basically the recruitment and implementation, but it's very important to be aware that thinking about participants, thinking about their engagement and how to do that is an integral part of every project phase throughout the life cycle. So we have in the project design, in the recruitment itself, during the implementation, and after the project, when you want to retain and keep these participants as, again, your pool, as your contacts. Okay, so this project life cycle will be kind of the backbone of this whole webinar. So I've thought that it would be much easier to start with project lifecycle, to put stages and kind of describe each stage and give you kind of tips and tricks and some examples from my own experience. Saying that, we start with the project design. So project design, project ideation, as you all know, is a phase where we kind of try to figure out what do we want to do, who are we engaging, and how will we develop the program to fit the best our target group and the problem that we want to address. So we will have two topics in this project design phase. So it will be target groups and incentives. So let's try to see what each of those mean? First, we start with target groups. So what are target groups? Target groups are groups of people that we want to engage in our projects. When you think about the project, when you start engaging in it, you often think, okay, this is great. It will be for everyone. Everyone can benefit this. But that is not the right approach to have. It is very important to think about who will benefit the most out of your project so that you can target better, so that you can focus your energy and resources on the people who get the most out of it and who are the most interested in it. So what we want to know, what we want to do, is to clearly define who these targets group are. And the important thing to understand that young people are not your only target group. So often when we do project work, especially the ones that are youth-led, and these are the reasons why we are here, you are the ones who are doing youth projects, we often think that young people are our only target group. And we design our communication according to that. We try to reach out to them. We put a lot of our efforts into trying to get our participants thinking that they are only young people. But when you think about it, they're not the only ones. So because we are talking about young people, about youth, that can be the kids that are going into elementary school, kids that are in high school, and students. Mostly that's the range. But especially for elementary school kids and high school children, when you reach out to them, it's usually either through mailing schools, either through going and trying to contact the parents directly, either through your direct contacts, or you are going through different kinds of media channels. And young people need to have some kind of a permissions to engage into these kind of programs. They are too young to do that by themselves. And in the light of that, it is very important to understand that parents, teachers, NGO leaders, so all the groups that are kind of in contact or already have young people involved are the ones that you need to target. Why? Because it's much easier and you will be in communication with them anyhow. So you need to also figure out who are they, what are their habits, where they are, how old are they, what are their needs. So we need to find out this information for all of our target groups. Something that can help us in doing that is something that we call customer persona, something that actually I took from an entrepreneurial world. So when a for-profit organization, a company tries to define who is their target group, they use this template called customer persona. So basically, customer persona is kind of a template and a detailed way in which you can define in detail who your customer is. In this case, we want to define who our target group is, who are our participants, and we need to know something more about them. As you can see on this picture, this can be name, age, gender, where are they living, what are their interests, what are their motivations, and so on. So for example, if you are thinking of adapting a customer persona for your young participant, you can state the name. You can really like figure out some kind of a name, give it to a person like Bob that is 16 years old. For example, he lives in a small town, engaged in some extracurricular activity, cares about environmental issues, and so on. So the point in this process is basically that you put a lot of focus in figuring out really like small details. The examples that I've given here are short and simple, but you can really go into details with them. Now, let's see why these details are relevant. So why is the customer persona helping us in designing our project? So first of all, age. For example, if he's 16 years old, maybe they are going to high school, hopefully, not elementary school. So if they are in high school, you know that you will be again addressing school as well. So you need to adapt your communication towards school. You need to adapt your communication towards a participant who is 16 years old. You need to get your language a bit more attractive for their age as well. It needs to be clear and simple. If they are living in a small town, that has proven for us to be a very good thing in targeting young participants because during our, well, in the most of the projects that we've done, most of the participants basically came from smaller communities. And this is something that we noticed when we were doing some larger scale national programs. And well, basically, what we were thinking, why is that happening? Because in bigger towns, young people, they have like a lot of things going on. So they have many different kinds of opportunities that they can engage in. And if you go to small communities, they don't have so many of these things, and they're really eager to get involved. So this is really a very nice thing to think about when you are doing some program. If possible, try to spread and try to reach out for people from some smaller communities. There's a bigger chance that you will get participants from that part. Then again, if they are engaged in, for example, in extracurricular curricular activity, most of your participants will be, because most of the youth that comes to the projects are already some active in some way. Sorry, meaning as well that the fact that they are active and involved in some other activities, they don't have so much time on their hands. So they would like to get involved, but you need to kind of figure out not to overload them and to figure out when is the best time to put your, well, to basically calendar your activities. So have in mind that they maybe will have some time in the afternoon. If they are going to school, maybe again, if you again include teachers, the good thing is that teachers can, I don't know, say to other teachers, okay, we have them now engaged in this activity, in this project. Maybe they can miss your class, or maybe they also don't need to answer or write some exam after that. So it's important to understand how active your participants are in order to give them enough time and space that they can actually engage in your projects. And then, for example, interest, cares about environmental issues. Also important thing to understand, because if you are doing a project that is well, most of them recently are connected with environmental issues, this is of course the narrative that you will be approaching them. And it's a very nice thing if you already have participants who are involved in similar projects, meaning that they have enough of experience, at least some kind of experience, they have the motivation, and that will get and bring a better outcome in your project as well. So, to conclude, it is very important to target your audience well. One thing, get into details, try to figure out as much as possible about them so that you can design your communication, your processes, and well, your strategy, and when you are doing it, much better, that it fits them. Have in mind that young people are not your only target group. So again, if you are working with people, with the youth that are in elementary school, with youth that are in high school, it is really very important that you have in mind that you will be reaching out to parents, you will be reaching out to teachers, and they are the ones who will be very much engaged. and then you need to understand their motives, their needs, their time as well. Okay, so now we have figured out who do we want to address. We have figured out what are their needs, what are their wants, what are their habits, and so on through our customer persona. And now we need to figure out how to attract them. So we know what they want. Well, let's try to give them something that will fulfill their needs, something that will bring them to our project. So what are the incentives? I have put these ones here that I find the most important and the ones that, well, work the best and resonate the most with project participants. Money, certificates, networking, skills and knowledge, and values. So now we are going to deep dive into each one of them, starting with money. So, well, throughout my experience in projects, we have figured out that there's a huge difference in the outcomes of the project if we have somehow involved money in it, being as a reward for the winning teams, being as some kind of an incentive, an enabler that they have developed a project that then we invest in. And it's a huge difference. So for example, we had one youth project, and the project was basically about teaching young people about project-based learning, well, through project-based learning, about creating projects in their local communities. So basically, the kids had to figure out what is the problem in their environment. They had to create a project that responds to it. And then we said, well, for the best 3 teams, we will give $1,000. So in the first iteration, there was no money. In the second iteration, we added the money prizes. And again, the difference was huge. So the kids who got the prizes basically were able to start piloting their projects and to make a really tangible project. Because the group that didn't have any money basically ended up with an idea and maybe some kind of a project pilot that was very crude and very short term. But the ones that were rewarded, they had really huge outcomes. So for example, we had a group that managed to buy equipment for their podcast studio. The other group managed to start rebuilding their schoolyard. And this wasn't like huge amount of money. This was just like $1,000 for each team. But some of them managed to even top on that budget. They reached out to different kind of stakeholders, to schools, to cities. So they were really enabled. They were really enabled to actually create something that is very tangible, and they were so proud of it. So I know that sometimes in projects, you cannot budget prizes. The way we kind of are, either you can budget, but you cannot just give away money. The way you can hack it, basically, that you just tell to the funder that you will give the money, but for the project. And how you do that is basically that let's say these winning teams send you their invoices and then you pay for it. So it needs to be connected with the project. If you don't get the money, if you cannot budget it, it would be really good if you try to do some fundraising by yourself from different sources or do donations. You can chip in by yourself. It really doesn't need to be a lot of money, but it holds a huge value. So again, if you can do it, really try hard to put money as a reward in your project. Okay, so next, certificates. So certificates are, again, like in the value and recognition, I would say the next one, we get questions, are we getting certificates quite often? And for a reason, of course. It needs to be relevant for your target group. For example, if you are working with, I don't know, kids who are in elementary school, they want to get into some good high school, they need points. So if you are able, try to get your program certified, try to check if your certification at the level that you are now actually brings them some points. So try to scope and search how can you bring them value, depending on then again who are you working with. So for young people who are in elementary schools, points for high schools will be very useful. Also the kids who are in high schools, the points for college would be also great. It also works as something that you can write and show in your CV. So, and one great anecdote, actually, recently, just like 2 weeks ago, we were running one program, and our target groups were high school kids, and we were in contact with the teacher, their teacher, and she actually called me and asked me if we can give them a certificate, especially her, and just write a certificate for mentoring. She was their mentor, and because she would get a higher pay grade. So let's come back a bit on your target groups and why is it important to recognize that it's not only youth. So what happened here? So we had a teacher who was very motivated to engage in this program because she would get a certificate that will actually grant her to keep or upgrade to another pay grade. So this is a huge motivator. This is a huge incentive. So keep that in mind. This is the reason why is it important to understand again who your target group is. Okay, next, networking. So usually when we talk to young people and then we want to attract them to our projects, we tell them, you will meet many nice new people, you must come. That is totally true. And it is something that they kind of get aware more when they get engaged. But actually, it is not such a huge incentive for them in your recruiting phase when you're trying to get them into your project. They can meet nice people, well, through social media, in their neighborhood, in some different ways, and not necessarily engaging in this kind of some kind of a program that actually asks for a lot of effort from them. This is why networking is a much better way to say that. And it's true. It's meeting people, not only just to get to know them, but it also opens a lot of doors. It opens many different opportunities. For example, if a participant, I don't know, you have a project partner who is, okay, I will give you one great example. We were also doing one project with the elementary school kids, and they were basically building something to some object that would improve their school environment. And one of the judges in our competition was from a technical NGO. So an NGO that was basically a robotics. So they were a robotics NGO, and he was the judge. And one of the participating teams, we had one kid who was really great at robotics. Their solution was like this bin that had like a screen on it, and then when you would throw trash, it would say thank you, and it will tell you a little story about how great it is to recycle. Simple thing, but he put a lot of effort into it. For his age, it was really a great thing to do. The judge recognized his skills. His team was like in the middle, they didn't even win the prize, but he took him and got him into a robotics camp. Later on, then got him to another association and another one. Basically, he's going around competitions now. So networking is a huge asset that we have. Using your network and trying to find the best fit with your partners. And you need to really tell this story well. They can reach potential employers. If again your partners, for example, is some kind of a company, the company's interest is to find new and potential workers. So you can connect them to. They can, or the kids can just get to know the branch that they are working in, popularize the industry that they are working in. The schools can find partners for their projects. They can get additional education, and of course, in all the light, they can get different perspectives on different things. So it's very important. Again, coming maybe back to the point that we were involving these that kids from small communities are more likely to get involved. These different perspectives, it's huge on them. So when you bring them all to like a camp of some kind, it's like a whole new universe. We were really like seeing the faces from these kids who like never set out of their village or a small town. You are really like broadening the horizon for them, and they really feel empowered and engaged throughout the whole process. Okay, next, skills and knowledge. So skills and knowledge is something that we usually put first when we talk. What's important to know, don't overwhelm them with your outcomes. I mean, we all do it. I know I did. So, okay, we are doing this project. It's best. They will meet people. They will learn this, and this knowledge, skills, 20 of them. So it's very easy to be so happy about your projects because you're really offering a lot of things. But these things need to be clear. So again, the communication needs to be very clear and very precise. Again, very well targeted. Coming back, we know who is our target group. Who are they? What do they need? What do they want? Well, let's provide top 5, let's say, skills, and let's say some knowledge outcomes that they can get. So don't overwhelm them. It's the same like you get in a shop that has 100 shoes lying around, or in a shop where it has like 10 of them really clearly, you know what you have. It doesn't overwhelm you. It attracts you much more. Okay, values. So I put them last. It's not that I think that they are the least important, but I think that they are always working. And you will always get like a basic number of participants if you just kind of even skip all of these and cannot provide them or communicate them badly. What we kind of, I think, do good is that you try to focus on your outcomes, project outcomes, and by that I mostly mean impact that you are doing. And you will always have participants who are motivated and who are believers and dreamers that will get involved in your project. Again, it's a very important thing to communicate, but it's also very important for you to know that this is not the only thing that you are offering. Okay? And you will have kids who are entering with this kind of a value-based intrinsic motivation, who know what they want to do, who want to contribute, but you will also want to reach a bit further to the kids who are maybe not aware of the topic, but they will kind of say, okay, great, there's a prize. Let's get involved. I will get a certificate. Maybe I'm not so interested in the topic, but once that they get in, you engage them. You do your best to engage them. We'll come back to that. But this is the point where you basically broaden your pool of participants. Okay, so in this whole incentive zone area part of your project design, you need to keep things relevant, clear, and simple. So there are always many things that we want to share, many things that we think are extremely cool and great for in our projects. But again, target well, recognize, and send clear, targeted messages and incentives that are based on the motivations that you figured out before. Okay, so this is from the part of project design. So next we are moving on to recruitment. So recruitment is probably like the first thing I think when you think about how to engage young people. And I suppose that most of you coming here were having problems and questions in terms of, okay, how do we engage young people? How do we attract them in our projects? Now you saw that you need to think about the phase before. It plays a huge part. You need to know who you are addressing. You need to know how to create incentives for them. And then basically we come to the recruitment phase. And what is recruitment? Well, basically recruitment is marketing. And we miss this fact oh so much. You know that in for-profit sector, marketing plays a huge role. And I don't know, I was thinking, where does this come from, that people think that kind of a advertisement and then branding is not important in the NGO sector. Maybe it's the fact that we get the funding previous, and then okay, let's pick the participant, let's get them engaged. It will not be so difficult, but it is, as you all know, a difficult thing, and you need to approach it from a very serious perspective. And this phase, that is marketing. Okay, so first thing that you need to think about is how to prepare your narrative. Adapt to your target group. Again, so the language that you are using, the channels that you are using to approach them. So obviously it will be social media. Different age groups work on different social media. For the younger ones, you will go for the TikTok, then you will move towards Instagram, then older ones, Facebook. Parents, Facebook probably. You have news, and so on. So adapt to your target group, the language that you are using, the channels that you are using. It is also very important that your whole team tells the same story. So you don't want to have 5 team members and 5 different narratives of your project. So imagine that you come to a participant calls, wants to ask a question, he calls few times and he gets a different answer every time. So you need to have to prepare a narrative, and then all of you need to tell the same story. Prepare. So you need to have drafts for everything in advance. You need to know how your press release sounds like, how it looks like. You need to do recruitment mail for each of your target group. So one for a company, one for school, one for parents, one for kids. You need to do your social media posts as well. Prepare them in advance, schedule them, prepare. Okay? So we need to prepare our narrative. What are we talking? To whom are we talking? And we need to have all the materials prepared before. Okay, so next is draft the recruitment journey. So usually it makes just things much more easier, because you are starting your recruitment phase. You need to put yourself in the shoes of a potential participant, your target audience. So what will be the process in this whole journey, from your information getting out to picking the information, getting some kind of interests? Where do I get this information? Who do I call? What is the schedule? What is going on? okay? Because you want this process to be as simple as possible. It needs to be user friendly. So try to kind of always narrow down. Start with something basic that is your usual practice. Put yourself on the shoes. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, review. And then do it again and always think, okay, how can it be more simple? How can it be more straightforward? How can we convey an information in less steps, few steps possible? Is it clear? Okay, choose your channels. Well, basically, I've kind of talked about this before. Straightforward. Your channels of your communication depend on your target group. So basically, you need to adapt to them. Again, this is age-wise. What do you do? Social media? Do you do radio? Do you do TV? Do you do newspapers? And of course, it's always good to combine. Why? Again, because you will have mostly target groups that are young people and that are also adults. Have a respectable website. Coming from a lot of experience of not having respectable websites, so this is also very important. So please focus on that. If your website is not looking good, budget in the next project to get funding and to make a new one. It's really, really important. Why? Because again, in this recruitment phase, it's a face of your organization. So you really need to look credible. You need to create some kind of a brand. You need to give a good impression, especially because you are dealing with kids and parents and teachers. So now stress is on parents and teachers who will check and see, okay, who will be in contact with my children in the next 2 weeks or few months. So you really need to have a credibility behind it. This is also a place that is your information board. You start a project, you link your website. Great. I didn't understand who are these people, or I didn't have a clear understanding of what do we need to do. But if you want to find out more, go to our website. They click it and they see it and read it. And that this is how they don't need to call you, or they don't feel that, oh, no, this is really not clear. They are not professionals. I don't want to be in this. You also add credibility with the projects that you did before. Put them on the website. Put your team on your website as well. So let's see who stands behind this project. So these are all informations that, again, mostly parents and teachers will probably look for, and they are very obviously very, very important. List your contacts. So again, totally didn't do it, regretted it, but always update your contacts. Whoever you reached out, it can be like you met somebody on the street randomly. There is a connection with your project or with your values or what you're doing. Email, number, put them in Excel sheet. You finished your project, put all the contacts in an Excel sheet. Everybody who was involved. So that can be your participants. Those can be your partners. That can be media contacts. Keep them. It will make your life so much easier when you start with another program and the next project. You need to keep, and you need to build your relationships and keep them. Okay, define your recruiting period. So recruiting period is very important. You need to know when are you recruiting. Again, coming back to who are you addressing. When is the good time to start your project? When do kids have time? So you can maybe think summer can be a good thing if you're doing some kind of a summer camp. If they don't have enough, because they don't have mostly enough things to do in the summertime. Also have in mind that they are on vacation, so maybe you can target it a bit later at the ending of the summer vacation. Set the dates clearly. Give enough time. That's mostly, in my experience, 2 weeks is enough. So they need to see the information. They need to think about it before discuss with friends. Apply. They will probably call you a bit, see what's going on, get more additional information, and you need to be present throughout this recruiting period. So use your channels. Diversify. You will start with sending emails. After a few days, you will do regularly social social media posts. Water time. Sorry. So you will do posts on social media. Then you will go on the radio. Then you will do newspapers. Then you will also make space for additional recruiting, because it doesn't always work. Maybe you missed something. Maybe you had a bad judgment in terms of when to recruit and who, and you got, I don't know, 2 participants or nobody. So it's very good to actually put a window between your end of your recruitment phase and implementation phase, where you can actually do additional recruiting. Okay? So it doesn't take anything from your project, but it potentially is a great, great, great safety net and gives you a lot. Budget your advertisement. So please put some money in ads. Again, we are talking about marketing here. You are working with kids. They're on their phones all the time using different apps, and basically you are marketing through them. So please budget your advertisement. You can really reach out through paid ads to a lot of young people. And be available and responsive. So it's very important to be there for the participants to answer for their information. Be quick, be trustworthy. Okay, so I'm seeing that I'm talking a lot, so I will try to finish this quick. Next is the implementation phase. So we figured out who do we want in our project. We did some incentives for them. We actually communicated that very, very well. And now we have kids involved in our project. And coming back to the topic of engagement, why we are here. So many of us think that engagement kind of either equalize it with getting people in the project. And then we often even rely that they will, okay, now they are in, and the wheels of the project, and they will go through the whole model, come out with something because we designed a good project, and that's it. But basically, again, engagement never stops. And engaging young people during the implementation phase is very important. So you cannot only rely on the incentives that you have set at the beginning of your program. They will come, most of them, in an environment that is very different and strange for them. So you need to do some prep for that as well. Make your program short and clear. So when you are working with young people, it's really, they don't have so much time. Their attention span is not so huge. And especially depending on their age, if you work with elementary school kids, be brief. If you're working with high school children, same rule, okay? Because elementary school kids, usually with them, when you are working, the teachers will get them involved primarily, and they keep the motivation going. In high school, they might even apply for themselves. They will get the help of a teacher, but they are like, they get lazy, they are not following through, hormones are kicking in, life, and so on. Totally normal and understandable, but have that in mind. So make the programs short and tense, clear outcomes. And the students are a bit of a different story, so they usually have a better perspective of what they want, what are their motivations, what they want to reach. So when they start, get them to set smart goals, set goals. So they need to, when they get into the project, they need to know what do they want to get, what do they want to achieve with this project. It needs to get a bit more personalized. Get them to do the smart goals. Sign an honor quote, also very effective trick. So participants can even draft it by themselves and then sign it, and it gives them some kind of a, let's say, obligation towards the whole project and program. Define roles and responsibilities. So they should have at the beginning of implementation a clear understanding of what awaits them. Who are they in this whole project? What is their roles and what do they need to do? And by smarting those goals, they really get even better when to do it. And give them ownership. So this is a huge one. This is something that in all of our projects we are trying to stress out as much as we can. So when we design our projects, we really try to give them as much ownership and responsibility as possible. Meaning, you give them tasks, you give them challenges. They are the ones who are solving them. And young people are somebody, or adults are someone who is communicating. But I mean, this is kind of a youth bank approach as well. Most of you, I think, are from youth bank, so you know what I'm talking about. And recognition as well. So recognition is huge. You need to celebrate, and money comes here as well. So it's great if you give them some kind of a money reward so they can continue and implement their projects. Okay, so again, we did the project cycles. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end with when the project finishes. So like I stressed out before, it's very important that you build your pool of participants. You need to celebrate what you did. They need to really go back and see what they managed to do and what they got. Review your process, ask them. Again, keep them in your loop, update your contact list, and try to fill out this period between projects with something. Networking events are an example. Do some kind of online, offline events. Try to keep them involved. Okay, well, basically, with a few minutes delay, I would say this is it. Guys, thank you very much for being here and listening. Again, the point of this, just to wrap it up, was how to engage young people in your projects. Like I mentioned, it's important to know that engagement is a crucial part of your project. Engaged participants equals a successful project. So if you go and follow through the whole life cycle, the part of engagement. So again, designing, who are we targeting? How do we incentivize them? Recruiting, we got them in. Marketing, just look at it from the glasses as you are a marketer and really respect it and put a lot of effort to it. Implementation. So engagement doesn't start just in putting the participants in your project. If you have engaged participants, they will gain skills, they will learn, they will create the outcomes, and they will create an impact that you are expecting and even more. After the project finishes, keep them in loop, re-engage. So you will have kids, young people who already learned something, who want more, and you give them a better and bigger challenge, and you get much more easier recruiting phase. You get even better outcomes. You are just a more successful NGO. You're just a more successful brand, and you bring more value to everybody involved. Okay, and yeah, that's basically it. Thank you.